This is at once a review of Romanesque and Gothic architecture, as well as a more in-depth look at the features and examples of both types. Quite clear differences between the two. Romanesque, we think rounded. We think these barrel vaults. Gothic architecture always has these pointed spires, ribbed vaults, flying buttresses, a very distinctive feature of them. Gothic architecture is emerging in the Middle Ages, again, pointed arches, city churches and cathedrals, not in the isolated rural monasteries that were part of the pilgrimage route, as we looked at in other audio lectures. And there was this profound emphasis on the vertical with these very tall towers and windows. Saint-Denis near Paris is one of the outstanding examples of this style of architecture, the Gothic. We see the differences between that and Santiago de Compostela, which is such as is the Saint-Denis of Gothic. The Santiago de Compostela is a pretty pure example of Romanesque architecture in comparison. The ribs in the ceilings of Gothic architecture are a telltale sign of what type of architecture you are experiencing in a cathedral or church of this period. Columns are now supporting vaults. Again, diagrams of these very distinct approaches to vaults. Stained glass, especially as discussed in another audio lecture, the predominant blue and red hues are a pretty consistent feature of this architecture that looks like it rises up in a landscape like the Wizard of Oz's Emerald Kingdom, Emerald City. Other examples contextualizing these churches and cathedrals in their urban environments. Again, more urban than the Romanesque style of Santiago de Compostela, which are in rural areas for the most part, monasteries. Tympanum, the recessed opening, either rounded or sometimes triangular, over an entryway, a door for the most part, sometimes a window. And the scenes, the type of scenes that are depicted there, they're figurative sculptural images that often have a narrative aspect that is a religious one, Mary and the Christ child, a different version of that we've looked at before, wooden sculpture of the same theme, saints depicted, the four apostles, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. The cathedral school at Chartres is another fundamental example of Romanesque architecture, switching over to the Romanesque now in comparison, as well as a center of learning and really a precursor to the modern university, liberal arts, scholasticism, the Greek models of philosophy and knowledge were taught here, and moving into Romanesque churches with their round arches and massive vaulting, piers, plan of Chartres Cathedral in contrast to the Gothic style. We do see the commonality of stained glass windows in both styles. A diagram of elevations and the vaults. the rounded arches, Christ from the book of Revelations in the tympanum,